Just have a follow-up question. For many people that were watching in 2011, it did come as a surprise, this kind of NATO-led operation, because just a few years before that, there seemed to be some sort of rapprochement with the West. We saw Tony Blair and Muammar Gaddafi in the Sahara Desert shaking hands. We saw meetings with Obama. It seemed like after years of painting him to be, sorry to say this, but they called him the mad dog and the number one enemy, as you mentioned. It seemed to be the West were letting him back into the fold. What happened? How did it go from one extreme to the other?
Well, there is a lesson to be learned here. What happened is Gaddafi was leading his biggest African liberation project. And please tell me that we have time to discuss it because it's the heart of the whole matter. But for now, let me just mention this. Gaddafi was leading the African Union, which was created in the city of Sirte in Libya in 1999. And let's all remember that this is the very city in which Gaddafi was killed as an iconic punishment for him for creating the African Union in 1999. And Gaddafi was planning to issue the African golden dinar. He was planning to call the Afro and the African Central Bank and the African Satellite Network and the African Unified Army. All of this we will talk about later. So he wanted, because of course the West would oppose all of these liberation projects, Gaddafi wanted to pacify the West, to keep them busy with friendship deals, with economic agreements. He wanted to show his kind of quiet diplomatic side to them, because he believed that if he did this for a good few years, maybe 8, 9, 10 years, he might be able to achieve all of these liberation projects with some confusion caused to the West. On the other hand, the West wanted to use this policy by Gaddafi to, of course, sign some lucrative agreements with Libya in the oil industry, in the military industry, and in many other aspects of economic life. That's why Britain was approaching Gaddafi, France as well, the Italians, of course, and the Americans. But the West was hoping also to dissuade Gaddafi from continuing his project of liberation in Africa. And they spoke to him. And I'm a witness to some of these talks. In 2008, 9, and 10, Gaddafi was visited by European presidents for the first time, and they spoke to him about his projects in Africa, and they appealed to him, so to speak, which means basically warning him to stop meddling in the affairs of Africa. And they warned him especially against the accumulation of the gold reserve. Gaddafi was one of Gaddafi's biggest projects in Africa was the building up of the gold reserve of the continent so it can support the issuing of the unified African currency and the establishment of the Central African Bank.